It is Monday, the 29th of November 2021. The t-shirt I'm wearing today comes from my good friends at Truth Seekers Northeast up there in Newcastle. Let's have a look at this. So a big shout out to Maureen and Dawn. They're doing great work up there with all their meetups and all their activism. And Maureen is like a big sister to me, you know. She really looks after me. Some great Geordie hospitality. Love spending time up there. Big shout to all my brothers and sisters up there fighting the cause in the Northeast. Something else to mention very quickly and to show you is the very first copy and the only one in existence on this earth plane at this present time of Musical Truth Volume 3. It's my author copy. This is what it's going to look like. As you can see, it's a bit of a chunky bugger. It's another doorstop. It will come, of course, minus the not for resale sign across the front, but that's what it's going to look like. So more of that at the end of the video. You know, there are always different ways of looking at a situation, different perspectives to be placed on it. And I, more than anyone else, know this because of the nature of my email inbox every single day now. So I can read one email that says, Mark, we're all fucked. Look at this document that's been leaked. Listen to what this whistleblower's got to say. Look at this data. Look at what's happening in Australia or some other country. There's no hope. It's doom, gloom and dread all the way, and we have no future for our children. The very next email in my inbox will tell me the exact opposite. I'm not going into white hats and, you know, this individual or this group is going to save the day, but just the evildoers, the psychopaths, have overplayed their hand to such a degree that there is no turning back. The masses will wake up in time. It's merely a question of how long it takes, but there's no way the sickos are going to win this one. They've revealed their true nature for all to see, and it will be their undoing. So completely different perspectives at both ends of the polarity that exists there within duality. I am always inclined to go with that latter viewpoint. That's what echoes my central message through most of my videos for the past almost 2 years now. Of course, I have my down days. We all do. And sometimes that's reflected because I try to be honest about where I'm at emotionally and spiritually when I do these videos. But for the most part, I take the view that, yes, exactly that. They have overplayed their hand. Their audacity and their arrogance will be their undoing. And it's all about the way you address a situation. And the reason I choose to, for the most part, keep my videos positive and hopeful ties into the dynamic of manifestation that I got into on last week's video, whereby we humans are endowed by the Creator with the potential to shape and mould our own experienced reality, according to the will and the intent and the consciousness that we apply to it. So by going around the whole time saying we're doomed, there's no hope, you're actually bringing that condition into physical manifestation, or at least there's the potential for that to be the case. And if large numbers of people are all in that energetic state, in that state of consciousness, believing that that's how things are going to play out, guess what? That's how they probably will. Whereas getting millions of people to imagine a scenario where truth, freedom, the light has already won is enough to actually bring that into play and to overwrite the dreadful, dark alternative. There's my prehistoric idiot phone, and it's from my GP surgery right on cue. I'm sure they'll be trying to entice me to take a you-know-what, and they know what they can do with that. It involves sticking it somewhere and not in their arm. So the point to make here is that there are two ways of viewing the current situation in England. Yes, there are two paths you can go by, in the words of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven. So I know the situation in Wales and Scotland has already been in place for some time in terms of the fear muzzles still being mandated. A mandate is not law, it's not binding in any way, it's merely guidance, but I know most of my listeners will already know this. In Northern Ireland, I believe that restrictions are due to come in on the 16th of December, where they're going to attempt to bring in the V passports for entry to places like cafes, bars, restaurants, clubs. So we'll see how that goes and what kind of resistance is put up to that. But in England, we had the announcement from the bumbling oaf clown Johnson at the weekend, the performing fool, that the fear muzzles are going to be back as of tomorrow, 30th of November. So one way of viewing this, one perspective to put on it, is that the tyranny and the dystopia is continuing unabated. They're still getting their way. And it's interesting that the start date for the fear muzzles coming back in shops and on public transport is tomorrow, 30th of November. So the oaf, the Etonian, delivered this speech on Saturday, and he was enforcing the urgency of getting on top of this new strain of the you-know-what, Omicron. Get onto that name in a second. Now, I can't help thinking that if the need for the fear muzzles, as if they did any good whatsoever, was that urgent, surely you'd want to bring it in straight away. So when he made the announcement on Saturday, why not say as of now, or as of first thing Sunday, the fear muzzles have to come back? They left it until Tuesday. And we're told that it's due to be reviewed in 3 weeks. So let's have a look. 3 weeks on, from the 30th of November, is the 21st of December, the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, as we think of it. That is a very important cosmic date of ritualistic significance to occultists. And what we saw through 2020 was all kinds of restrictions in the UK being brought in on dates of significance in that way, in ancient pagan traditions that occultists like to observe. So 21st of December, we get a review. I wonder what the result of that review will be, if nothing steps in to intervene in the process and prevent it from being the case. Could it possibly be that on the 21st, the bumbling oaf will get up there and say,
"Sorry, folks, the you-know-what is completely out of control, and we need further lockdown restrictions to get on top of it. So, as of today, there's a full lockdown all over the UK, and you can't go anywhere or do anything."
What are the chances of that being the case? Pretty high, I would say, again, unless something steps in to stop it. And that would be just in time for Christmas, to fuck up yet another Christmas and ruin all the plans that people had to get together with their families and all of this, those that observe these things anyway. I mean, my advice would be completely ignore these rules. You have a duty and a responsibility to ignore rules and instructions that are immoral, that conflict with natural rights and freedoms, and seek to take those away. But nevertheless, we know many will comply with it. What if also, on Christmas Day, we should get the announcement that the Queen has died? Now, I suspect, from the many things that I've seen, notably the CGI footage that they've been putting out of supposedly the Queen over these past several months, I suspect that she's already dead. And many other researchers and speakers are of this view as well. And they've been holding on to the announcement until it's deemed strategically significant for them to unleash it. It wouldn't surprise me if we get the news that the Queen has died on Christmas Day. Wouldn't that be ironic? She's delivered a Christmas message every year for God knows how many decades. It would be very appropriate from the point of view of satanic mockery for them to announce that she's died on Christmas Day. And that would ruin many a normie's Christmas as well. Wouldn't ruin mine. I'd be breaking out the party streamers and the bunting. And it's all round to mine for a big party. But, you know, for many normies that worship the royals, the worst possible news they could get at Christmas is that their beloved majesty has finally passed away. And that would ruin their Christmas. 3 days of national mourning, which would eat into the Christmas holidays and continue to ruin that. So it wouldn't surprise me if they pull that stunt. So, you know, now we have this Omicron strain, which basically a bunch of people sitting around a boardroom table made up. They just sat there and said, what should we do next? How about we invent a new strain? Good one. Yep, new strain, like that. Where should we say it's come from? South Africa? Yeah, could do. Botswana, that's good. Botswana, jungle. Yeah, a bit, you know, mosquitoes and, yeah, a bit scary, so we'll have that. What should we call it? How about we call it an anagram of moronic, which is how we view the profane masses, the useless eaters. They are moronic because they're buying all this bullshit. Good one. Okay, what's an anagram of moronic? Omicron. Yeah, we'll call it that. Also, the good thing about Omicron is that it was also the title of a dystopian 1963 movie where an alien comes to Earth, takes over the body of a scientist, and there's viruses involved, that kind of thing. So that ties in. Also, Omicron is an anagram of oncomere, which is an mRNA cancer-causing agent that has been documented. So it really is the gift that keeps on giving, because it's an anagram of these two words. And it sounds scary and intimidating. And they've gone from delta, which ties into delta brainwaves, the lowest possible form of brainwaves within the human condition. And you have to be almost asleep to be in a delta brainwave state, which is how they view the masses. They see us as asleep, they see us as ignorant and profane, and the latest strain and the naming of it is yet more morbid mockery of, as they see it, our profanity, which they consider us to be wallowing in. Not all of us. Anyway, we'll get on to that. So different ways of viewing what's going on from a doom-laden negative perspective. Something else, and another way in which Omicron, who takes that name seriously, honestly? Another way in which that is the gift that keeps on giving is, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been quite a lot of footballers and other professional sports people who just happen to have been dropping on the sports field and either dying or clutching their chest in great pain and then looking like they've got Parkinson's as they shake all over the place. Quite a few of these things have been happening, and normies, the masses, and the mainstream media seem to have been content to chalk this all up as coincidence. It's just one of those things that happens. Well, it doesn't, but they seem to think it does. The odds of all these sports people just happening to fall to the ground and becoming seriously ill with heart problems, and it all being coincidence, are several billion to one. I think we probably know what's causing it. Those of us who are paying attention, those of us who are awake and aware. It's the V. It's a side effect of what's been given to these people as a condition of them continuing to play this sport. But the wonderful thing about moronic, as far as the sickos are concerned, is it's been explained that one of the side effects of it is heart problems being caused. So now, all these professional sports people dropping down and dropping dead in some cases can be blamed on the new variant. That's how scary it is. That's how dangerous it is. That's why we got to introduce all these lockdown measures once again. Okay, so that's one way of viewing the current situation. But as I mentioned, there are other viewpoints. Let's start with what appears to be a leaked document from the World Health Organization, which appears to list the various variants which are to be unleashed at various points. And this document, if it's genuine, I'm hoping that it is and it's not some sick bastard's idea of a scam or a joke. If it is genuine, it lists these different strains and it gives dates on which they're due to be released. It covers 2022 going into 2023, which is yet further proof that this whole scamdemic is being planned. It's not mutating randomly. It's not something that's out of control and we don't know what's going to happen next. The bastards in control of this know exactly what's happening next because they're making it happen. So if this document is genuine, it lists moronic as being released in May 2022. So it seems they've fast-tracked it by 6 months and decided to put it out in November, maybe because they felt they needed it. They were panicking, they were getting desperate, they needed a new weapon in their arsenal to unleash, or it's just a gigantic fuck-up on the part of the WHO and it wasn't meant to get out. Whatever the case, this document seems to be available and stands as yet further proof that this whole thing is planned. Then, something to be considered by those in the UK and specifically England is what appears to be the unravelling of the overfed, overprivileged, overpaid old Etonian oaf Johnson, who last week appeared to be losing the plot spectacularly when he started referencing Peppa Pig in one of his speeches. Now, I know Johnson is an actor and he has acted through many scenes in his allotted role. So it is possible that this was all an act to try and convince people that he's even more of a bumbling oaf than we thought he was. But there is still the possibility that he is unravelling. You know, he spent several minutes going through his notes and...
Forgive me. Forgive me.
No, we don't forgive you, mate. And we don't forget either. And then he goes into his Peppa Pig routine.
I think we can all learn something from Peppa Pig. I would suggest that everyone watches Peppa Pig and pays attention to the family dynamic there.
So, hopefully this is a sign of Johnson feeling the pressure and feeling some stress from what's being applied to him from above by his overlords, by his controllers. That would be a good thing. Chris Whitty was at a lecture last week that he was delivering, and that was bum rushed and hijacked by a group of activists. Piers Corbyn was there. I know the comments are going to be full of comments now. Piers Corbyn's a shill, he can't be trusted. Yeah. Why don't we just have that conversation when we've won our freedom back, and then we can work out who's the shill and who isn't. It doesn't really serve any purpose right now when we've got much more pressing things on the agenda. But anyway, group of activists interrupted Chris Whitty's lecture, and they were heckling him, and they were dropping some truth bombs, and he looked nervous. He looked bothered by it, you know. So now he knows that we know, a significant proportion of us, we know what they're doing. And that's got to be playing on their minds. We need more of that. We need to confront these bastards at their public addresses. Neil Ferguson got bum rushed a couple of weeks ago as well and hit with similar comments. So it's great to see that happening. The activism is being stepped up. There are more and more protest events, and again, I see comments below already, people saying protests don't serve anything, they're pointless. We've been through that one before. They do. They give a visual indicator of dissent. And if they weren't there, it would send out the message that we're all just taking it and we're all just fine with it. They show that many of us are not having it, and we know. We now know. Lots of activism taking place in terms of campaigns and sit-ins outside schools. You've got the rebels on roundabouts. You've got all the stand in the park meetups. You've got all the activism that arises from all of that. It's great to see. It's being stepped up, especially overseas in countries like Australia, Austria, other countries in Europe. Big pushback. Croatia, stuff happening out there. This is all great to see. Maybe the sickos wanted to be much further ahead in their agenda than they currently are. And this is something we have to consider, that our input has actually prevented the dystopia from being even further down the line than it would be if we'd all sat back and done nothing. And something else to consider is the collective consciousness of the masses and how that can be having an effect out there in the ether in terms of what is manifesting. That goes back to my earlier comment. Maybe the collective consciousness has reached a point where it's not possible for this darkness and this evil to progress at the rate they would prefer because it's being held back, the tide is being stemmed. And we've never needed the majority of the population to be in an awakened, enlightened state, applying positive consciousness and will to the situation. It's just got to be an appropriate proportion of the population to make that happen, because the energetic frequencies of love and truth and freedom are so much more powerful than those of lies, deception and darkness, and they overwrite it each and every time. So we've just got to reach a point where there's enough of that being put out there to prevent all the other stuff from happening. Gotta hope we're close to that point. I believe we're getting there. Just got to keep it going. What else? Well, the double arm-speared, many of them appear to be waking up to the reality of the situation. From comments that I've seen on chat threads and, normie posts on Facebook, many of these double arm-speared are starting to ask themselves why it is that they were told that if they went out and took the you-know-what, then society could get back to normal a lot quicker. So they're asking themselves, why is it that the fear muzzles are coming back? Why is it that we're told the infection rates are through the roof? Why is it that we're told there's a new mutant strain and that the double or triple arm spears we've already taken are ineffective against it and don't protect us against it? Why is it that we're told that even though we're double arm speared, we can still contract the you-know-what and spread the you-know-what? Why is it that we're told that even though we're double arm speared, we still have to quarantine when we get back from certain countries into the UK? We still have to do lateral flow and PCR tests every 5 minutes to get into venues and such. Why is that? It seems we haven't been told the whole truth about this. So the penny is starting to drop. It's dropping very slowly, but we seem to be getting there. And what we need is many of the double arm speared to realise that it was never supposed to stop with 2 or 3 shots. The idea was always to provide an excuse to coerce people into taking these things every year, pretty much for the rest of their lives, which may well be shortened as a result of what they've been allowing to happen to themselves. So we need more of these people on our side, on the side of the truth warriors that are out there on the front line of the battlefield fighting this one for the sake of them and their families and everybody else as well as our own. Because this is the point. We have normies attacking us, calling us anti-Vias and C deniers and all this kind of stuff. And what they don't seem to realise is that we're fighting this battle for everyone, including them. Because we know we've taken the personal responsibility to do the research into where this whole thing is headed unless we step up and put this evil down. Because nobody else is going to do it for us. It's down to us. Now that process is underway. I'm encouraged to see that it's being stepped up and it's being accelerated every day. It's only natural that it would, given that the tyranny and the dystopia is being pushed forward more every day. But these people need to realise that we're doing this for everyone, for them and their children, to provide a future for them. Maybe one day they'll wake up to that reality. They did not listen. They did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. In the words of Don McLean's song Vincent, which apply so much to this era, don't they? So I've heard the stories coming forward about these prison camps that are being built as kind of gulags, with the suggestion that dissenters, those opposing the narrative, those not taking the V, are going to be rounded up and put into these places. I personally don't think there's going to be enough of those that will be prepared to actually do this. Just think about what that instruction sounds like. Police, military, whatever they are told to go to people's homes and take them against their will and put them into a Soviet-era style gulag. There will be some of a psychopathic, sociopathic, narcissistic nature who will be prepared to carry out that order. But will there be enough? Will that be the line in the sand? When that instruction goes out, will that be the point where so many of these order followers will say, no, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that to my fellow brothers and sisters. I would like to hope that that would be the case. I've also heard stories of these railway carriages which have apparently been commissioned, complete with metal fixtures with shackles on. The idea being that dissenters are going to be rounded up and put into these railway carriages, similar to the stories we got out of World War II, where the Jews of the various ghettos were reportedly rounded up in these railway carriages as part of what has been described as the Holocaust. Again, I don't accept that it's going to come to that. These events were 80 odd years ago. It's a different era now. There's a lot more truth out there. There's a lot more opportunity for people to comprehend what's really going on here. And I do not accept that that kind of scenario is ever going to become a reality. And for as long as enough of us refuse to accept that that can ever become a reality, it won't, because we're preventing it from being the case. I don't buy into any of that. So although I have my dark days and my downtimes, as we all do, I'm working hard to stay positive on this one and to put that affirmative energy out into creation. One thing I want to address, which has evidently become a physical reality, is the plight of the Aborigine people in Australia. I believe this is happening mainly in the Northern Territories, but there are some horrifying stories coming out about these people being rounded up from their communities and forcibly placed in internment camps. So unfortunately, there are people that have been willing to carry out this instruction. I don't know if it's because they view the Aborigine people as less important than those living in the cities. But either way, this is a devastating story, and apparently these people are being forcibly injected against their will with the you-know-what for the greater good. A phrase we've heard before. So I want to propose that the next mass meditation that I curate, we do these once a month. The next one is due on the 12th of December, 12 midday. I want to suggest that as many people as possible focus their will, their intention, their consciousness on the plight of these people and an outcome whereby they win justice and their freedom back. And hopefully within that kind of scenario manifesting, those that have been perpetrating these outrages will get the appropriate outcomes for their actions. I've had an email about this, so let me just read this one out from a viewer who says, could I ask that the next meditation be for us all to concentrate on sending love, strength, justice and protection to the Aboriginals and also to those under severe draconian rule in the Australian cities. Perhaps we should add Austria to this meditation too. Clearly, if the dark forces succeed in these countries, the rest of the world is next. They won't. People are now beginning to question things after some 20 months of a form of hypnotic trance induced in them. It's rather like The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe when the Wicked Witch's evil spell holding Narnia in perpetual wintertime starts to break and the snow starts to melt. We could also meditate on the awakening gathering momentum. Given how events are happening fast, I think we all need to act sooner rather than later. So I'll put that one out there. I've been asked to mention an event happening in York this coming Saturday, the 4th of December. It's called The North Unites, happening from 1 p.m. at York Minster. Various speakers there, including Anna de Buisseret, if that's how you pronounce it, Gareth Ike and Simone from Event 202. This is not a protest, it's an uprising, goes the mantra with that one. Anyone who can make it to York this Saturday, let's make that event massive and get some numbers that really get people's attention. Bill Gates likes to say, the next pandemic will really get people's attention. Well, so will this one, pal. And we ain't finished with you yet, either. Believe that. What else to mention? Well, going into my talk events, I just want to send big respect out to everyone that reached Wellingborough. Site of one of these bloody gulags if they get their way, which they won't. So this was at Old Grammarians in Wellingborough on Saturday just gone. Big shout to Jags for organising. It was a great event, very encouraging turnout, and I delivered some content from the new book as well as going into the music industry's military and mind control connections. So many thanks to all that turned out to Wellingborough. The next dates where I'll be presenting excerpts from sound bites of Musical Truth 3 are Milton Keynes on the 7th of December, and that's a daytime gig at Cafe Belge in Beachhampton, and I'll be there from round about 1 o'clock giving my talk. Jamie Tullum is also going to be speaking there from the Activists Toolbox. And the 7th of December is a date where I'm going to be doing 2 gigs. So it's just like in the old days of DJing, dashing around doing 2 gigs in a night. So on the evening of the 7th of December, which is a Tuesday, I'm going to be up at Truth Juice in Birmingham doing a talk titled The Dark Heart of the BBC. And I'll be back at Truth Juice in Birmingham on the 4th of January, giving a Soundbites talk then. So the next gig after the 7th will be Saturday 11th of December, where I'll be at the Bases Conference down there in Pewsey, Wiltshire, and I'll be giving my talk in the evening of that date on Musical Truth 3 excerpts from the book. On that front, watch out for a new episode of Good Vibrations coming very soon, where once again I've got a guest host in the house. On this occasion, it's my good friend Ivan from Phoenix, who's interviewing me all about the new book. And we'll be going into some of the content there. It is actually available already on Amazon, so anyone that wants to get a copy straight away, you can order it from Amazon as of now. That's the paperback version. There's going to be a hardback version coming. There's going to be a Kindle ebook, and as soon as I get round to it, there'll be an audiobook. So for now, it's available on Amazon. I'll be getting my own personal author copies this coming Friday, the 3rd. So I can then sign copies and get those sent out from here for anyone that wants one. I'll be putting an update on djmarkdevlin.com as soon as I've got those, and I'll do another video right here to announce that. So in closing, the return of the fear muzzles in England could be viewed as a testing exercise. They're dipping their toe in the water with this one. They're not going too hardline just yet because they want to see what the reaction will be to the public being told that they've got to don the muzzles again. They'll be observing very closely how many people are obeying this one. As I and so many others have said for so very, very long, mass non-compliance is the way out of this. And the day enough of us, or them, say no, we're not doing it, there goes the agenda. So we will see. We'll be watching very closely how many people obey this one. But I feel they weren't confident enough to go with a full draconian lockdown again, straight off. Whitty himself even said the other day, the public won't tolerate many more restrictions. They won't tolerate much more of this. I feel he's got an accurate gauge on the situation there. So they're doing it very softly for now with the muzzles in the public places. We'll see how that goes. It could be viewed as the tyranny marching on, or it could be viewed in a different way as more nails in their own coffin as they continue to make it so blatant and so obvious and at the same time so farcical and so ridiculous that it starts to feel like a surreal sketch from Monty Python that we're all living through. It could be viewed that way, that they're only accelerating their own demise with all this madness. That's the way I'm seeing it. That's the reality that I'm going to bring into play through my consciousness. Who's with me on that one? Because it's our time now.